Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rin, and as you may know, I've spent 6 years studying international relations. I did both my bachelor and master's degree in this field, and I guess I have much experience to share with you. So if you're looking forward to getting a degree in international relations, or if you have already graduated and want to find a job and you have no idea what to do with your life, just keep watching this video. I hope that I have some answers to your questions. I want to divide this video in two parts. The first one is going to deal with the academic side, just studying and researching this field and my experience doing it. And the second one is more formal, and we will talk about finding a job, the skills which you might need working in this field, and my experience of 8 months of working there. So let's start with the first part, obviously, and I have lots of bullet points in here, and I really wish I had someone to talk to during my high school years, because I had no idea what this profession was like, and I still have no idea what it's like in real life, but I have some experience, so at least I'm trying to figure this out. And I had no clue what subjects were expecting me during my studies. So first of all, be prepared to study lots of history, not only of your country or your part of the world, for example, but in general. You will have to deal with world history, ancient history, the history of your country, the history of international relations, contemporary history of international relations, history of international relations theory, and all these historical subjects. And at first I was really confused because I had no understanding why I needed this much history. Like, why? Why do I have to study all these things? And sometimes they are like duplicating themselves. They are basically the same, but from the different points of view, from the different angles. But now, after 6 years, I understand that without knowing history, you will have no chance to critically analyze the situation which is going on right now, or which had some kind of importance to the development of the world system, of political processes in your country, in your region, or in the world in general. So history is a key to understanding the way world works in terms of politics. So be ready to read lots of pages, be ready to pull up all-nighters to prepare for your classes, and it might sound terrifying at first. I know, I sound like someone who's trying to talk you out of going to study international relations, but that's not true. I really love this field. I enjoy finding new information, learning more about politics, about my country, about world in general, but it's kind of tiring sometimes, and you have to prepare yourself that you will have to read a lot. And reading a lot is something you will have to master, because sometimes it will require like 2 or 3 days to cover a huge book of 500 pages, and you will have no chance to avoid this. You will have to read it to pass the exam, to prepare for your class. And it's difficult, but it's interesting and exciting at the same time. Another basic thing is languages. It doesn't matter what country you live in, it doesn't matter what region you live in. You have to learn at least one more language. And I know that people from an English-speaking countries like the United States of America, Canada, Australia, and other states sometimes have this kind of stereotype that English is enough because it's an international language which is understood all over the world, but that's not true. You have to learn at least one more language, and you have to find your concentration. I mean, you have to find a country or a region which you're interested in. If we talk about me, English is not my native language, and I think that you can hear it from my accent or from some mistakes in my speech. Over these 6 years, I've also been learning Italian, and my level is pretty decent. And I spent almost a year learning Korean. Korean was like a pretty impulsive choice. I have no regrets about it. And at the moment I have a various command of 3 languages, which helps me to build my career and which opens the doors for me. Because the more languages you know, the more chances to get a job you have. It doesn't matter if you're going to get a job in your country or travel abroad and get a job there, you will definitely have a job. So the more languages, the better. Try to focus on this side of your academic journey. And I know that sometimes it might be difficult and confusing because languages are never easy, but please don't give up because it will really benefit you in the future. Another thing which is pretty obvious but always neglected by people who tend to share their stories on international relations is critical thinking. Critical thinking is required in this field because you will face so much bias and so much fake information and so much distorted facts which you will have to analyze. So you have to work on your critical thinking from the day one, from the first day of your studies. You have to learn how to analyze information, you have to analyze it from the start, and only doing this you will be able to somehow extract the main idea, the real fact, and all of this. It's going to be very difficult, believe me. It's still difficult for me after 6 years, especially when you live in this kind of a situation in the world, some kind of local conflicts going on, the global change of the paradigm is going on. Everything is so chaotic and so difficult to understand, and you have to be very fast in your analyzing and your thinking about these processes. Sometimes it's very tiring, but you have to get the tools and the mechanisms to do this. Unfortunately, there is no key to succeeding in developing your critical thinking. It really depends on the person. Everyone has their own journey, but I have only one piece of advice for you. Doubt everything you hear and see, especially on the media. Mass media is the menace to society. The more I read the news on the internet, in any country, in any language I know at least, the more I'm scared that I'm going crazy, because the way they present their information is horrendous. The majority of news is just pure bias, and sometimes it's even pure propaganda, and you have to remind yourself and understand this in order to extract some good facts from all the shit that you are reading on the internet or in newspapers or you're watching on your TV. And I've mentioned the word propaganda, which is always associated with these authoritarian regimes, with the specific countries. For example, China is always accused of propaganda, not only in their national mass media, but their external mass media, which presents the image of the country outside. It also concerns Russia, where they have, for example, RT, the Russia Today, which is basically banned all over Europe. And it sounds strange if we consider Europe a democratic region, whatever. But this sentiment is very distorted and faulty because all over these democratic countries with perfect regimes, there are lots of propaganda as well. For example, if you turn on the news on the American TV, you will be as shocked as you can be turning on the TV in Russia, in, Afghanistan, in China, in whatever. Because in these difficult times of physical war being very expensive and unavailable, basically, the only battlefield you have is this information battlefield. So when you read news all over the internet, please be careful and keep in mind that every resource, even if it's a news agency like the Reuters or what about the other, Associated Press, any kind of news agency which has to present pure information without any opinion is still opinionated. Please be careful and keep it in mind, and it will really help you to find your way in extracting the information you need. Another point which proved right, especially after the beginning of a new wave of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, is that world is not just black and white. It might be gray, it might be different colors of gray, different shades of gray, 50 Shades of Grey. Anyways, do not curse yourself into choosing any kind of position. You can be fluid and flexible. It's okay. Please listen to your thoughts, your ideas, your mind, and try to find something which resonates with you. Even if it's something which is condemned on the media, among your friends, it doesn't matter. You is the only thing that matters, and try to find the position which suits you but not the sentiment of society. It's really important if you want to succeed in studying international relations and building an academic career in this sphere, because you will hear lots of thoughts, lots of ideas, lots of arguments over these basic things, and you will have to listen to yourself and be careful with your own thoughts and just be true to yourself. Sometimes I feel like Tony Robbins speaking like this, and I hope you forgive me because it's kind of difficult to film a video after a couple of months of absence. And the last thing I wish I knew before I chose to study international relations is that sometimes you will feel like you know nothing, but the world will require you to know everything. This particular field of studies is just a combination of everything and nothing at the same time. You will have to know international law, geography, political processes all over the world, political theory, international relations theory. Sometimes you will have to know like specific economic subjects. You will have to learn languages. You will have to know everything. And it's not going to be enough, because sometimes you will face the topics and the issues which you will have no chance to analyze. You will have no base for analyzing, because you will, for example, have no idea how the nuclear energy works or how the energy works in general. So it might be difficult for you to analyze some energetic crises all over the world, or you will read about the IAEA activities and just find it confusing because there will be so much information from physics and from chemistry which will make no sense to you. Self-improvement and a constant desire to learn are your two best friends if you want to succeed in international relations. Even after 6 years, I still sometimes feel confused just because I have no background in this topic. Especially when it comes to nuclear energy, nuclear weapons. I have some basic knowledge on the documents, on the treaties, on the regimes all over the world. I know something, but it's still not enough to efficiently analyze some kind of consequences of potential events, which really makes it difficult for me to predict something or to write proper forecast. But I'm working on it, I'm reading a lot, I'm making my notes. I'm working on myself, and you have to work on yourself as well. It's okay, we have all our life ahead, but you have to deal with this problem because it's a problem, it's a difficulty, which might be an obstacle in building a career. Now let's proceed to the second part of this video, and we're going to talk about finding a job, working in this sphere, soft skills which are required, and just building yourself as a professional in international relations. And 6 years ago, when I first decided that I wanted to go to get a degree there, unfortunately I had no one to talk to. I had no chance to get any information on the internet because there were no blogs on it, there were no YouTube channels, no, Instagram profiles where people shared their experience of not becoming a diplomat or building a career in the sphere, but at least getting to the university of my dream, right? And I studied in I wouldn't say a poor district, it was like an average one, but I had no people around me who could even afford studying international relations because the university in my country which deals with it is very prestigious and you have to pay much money to get there. Not to get there, but like to study there. It's definitely another very concerning problem to get there. You have to pass all the exams perfectly and you still will have to pay. But I had no one to talk to and no one to share experience with me, so it was a difficult way, and sometimes it felt very disappointing when I were finding out some details about my future job, my future profession. At first, I really wanted to go to work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was a dream of mine. It was very stereotypical dream of everyone who got into this program, who decided to dedicate their life to international relations, just because we had no idea that there were any other options. That we could be political analysts, we could be, PR specialists, we could be translators, interpreters. And the spectrum of the jobs connected to the international relations is really, really wide, but we had no one to tell this to us, unfortunately, so we all really wanted to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And when I finished my third year, we had a chance to go to the internship there and to work for a month or two. I missed this opportunity and I have no idea if it was fortunately or unfortunately, but what is done is done. And after hearing all the stories from my friends who did an internship there, I realized that it wasn't something for me. The first thing you have to realize about working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or any other ministry or any other unit of your basically government is that, first of all, you have to support the idea, the ideology, the course, the program of your country entirely. You will have to fight for this course. You will have to promote this course. You will have to explain why your country does this or that. Some people say that you have to be a patriot, but I don't support this kind of idea because I believe that patriots can also criticize the country because they want it to improve and they want their citizens to live better. So being an oppositioner or not supporting the main course of your country doesn't mean that you are not a patriot or you don't love your country. It means that you have some skills for critical thinking, basically. So be prepared to make a deal in your head. Either you stay silent and work for the government and develop your diplomatic career, become an ambassador even after long years of trying, or you just don't go to the ministry, okay? What's more, you will have to face restrictions. It doesn't matter if you're going to work for the government or for non-profit organizations or whatever. This field requires some restrictions, especially concerning the way you look, the way you act, the way you behave, the way you talk. So if you want to have colorful hair, piercing, I don't know, long nails with some cute, strange design which really suits your personality, you will have to abandon all these items. Or you will have to abandon your dream to become a professional. In these terms, it's all black and white. You have either this or that. At first, it was difficult for me to accept this because I really enjoy colorful hair, wearing some strange clothes. But now I understand that if I want to build a career and have a good salary, pretty good salary, I will have to wait for a couple of years until I get my house, I get my car, I get anything I want, and then I quit this job, and then I will be myself again. It might sound very devastating and depressing, but don't get me wrong, it's not like that. I just want to be honest with you and I want to share with you this truth which I learned, which no one told me about. Another thing which is not talked about enough is soft skills and networking. I believe the word networking is really poisoned by all this connection to influencers, bloggers, vloggers, but networking in real life is really, really important. The more people you know, the more chances to solve the issue in the future you have. I have a short story about it. A couple of months ago, a think tank where I work had a discussion with really qualified, amazing speakers, but unfortunately we had no chance to announce this discussion prior to the day before, literally one day before the discussion, and it meant that we would have no chance to gather the representatives of mass media to have this informational coverage of the event. And we were panicking because our boss said that he wanted to come to see the discussion. And having a background in journalism and spending 2 years in the school for young journalists in my high school, I remember that I had a friend who worked for one of the mass medias in my country, and I also had a friend who was a producer, and I called them and I told them, okay guys, we haven't talked in a while. In a couple of years, to be honest. But I want to ask you for a favor. We really need help. We really need someone from your agencies to come there and to write at least a short commentary on our discussion, because we will get fired, basically. And even though we hadn't spoken to these people for a couple of years, they said, okay, we will find someone, we will send them to you, and they will come. They came, they wrote some articles, they took some interviews from our speakers, and it was all good. But it was very nervous. And if I had no connections from that time, from 8 years ago, imagine 8 years. From 8 years ago, I will be in a big trouble after this event. And this story can happen to anyone in this field, and it basically epitomizes the idea of networking and international relations. So please don't be afraid, talk to people, take their phone numbers, try to go to different events. The more people you know, the better. It will definitely help you in the future. A message to all the girls watching this video. Girlies, the level of sexism you will face in this sphere is top tier. I'm not exaggerating. You will face sexism from all over the place. You will hear it from your professors who might say something like, oh, you don't have to be very active during my class. You just have to prepare yourself to be a wife of a diplomat. You will hear it from your colleagues who will underestimate your skills and your level of knowledge. You will hear it from all over the world. People will expect you to wear short skirts, different blouses, and very objectified sexist outfits. And that's the truth. I have no idea what to do with it. It's very difficult to destroy this stereotype, to destroy this attitude in the sphere basically dominated by male professionals, but it's the truth. So be ready to fight for your right to be a woman, to be respected, to be independent, and to be a professional, because it's going to be very hard. When it comes to finding a job, it might be very confusing even to write a CV, because you have no idea where to find a job, where to look for it, and what jobs you can find. We all are used to a stereotype that after international relations, you will work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or you will work in an international organization. You can become a diplomat if you want to. It's a great way to build your career, but it's very tiring. But you also have other options. For example, you can work for a think tank, or you can write for a think tank. It's two different things. If you write for a think tank, you become a political analyst, and you basically analyze the situation in your country, in a region, in the world. Sometimes you prepare reports for different kind of ministries, and you basically continue your academic activities. You have to write papers, write different articles and all of this. If you work for a think tank, you can become a part of the staff, which basically helps this organization to work. For example, I work for a think tank, and I am a part of a press service team. We work on the image of our think tank, we communicate with the mass media, we prepare interviews with our experts, and basically we do what all people in PR do. We create an image of our think tank. And there is another department which works with the experts. They help organize their conferences, they work with their analytical commentaries and all this stuff. Well, it's working in a think tank as well, but it's definitely different from being an expert and writing a commentary or doing analytical job, right? So you have lots of opportunities. You can be a translator, you can be an interpreter, you can even be a lawyer. It depends on your country and on your legal system. Sometimes you can be a lawyer without this American bar exam and having a degree in international relations. There are lots of opportunities, so don't be so focused on becoming a diplomat. Especially if you have some doubts, if you're not ready for restrictions, if you're not ready to travel around the world, live without your family, have basically no home. Because you will have to travel once in 2 to 4 years, and you will have to switch and adapt to new conditions. Be prepared. And if you keep these things in mind, probably it will be easier for you to decide on the spot right now whether you want to continue your self-development in this career, whether you want to go get this degree or not. And I really hope that talking about these things, I helped someone to get a better understanding of this profession, both in academic terms and in practical terms, because international relations is something which is so glamorized all over the place, all over the world, but in general it's just another profession which has its pros and cons, which is as difficult as being, for example, a doctor or a biologist or anyone. So don't be fooled by all the images you see on the internet or hear from mass media. Stay true to yourself, listen carefully to what your heart wants, to what your mind wants, and just remember, you have all your life ahead. to find yourself, to find something which brings you happiness. And if it's not international relations, it's okay. You will definitely find something which brings joy to you. Well, that's it. The video was very longish, but I'm so grateful that you have watched till this moment. If you enjoyed all these long minutes, please hit a like button down below. If you see me for the first time in your life, hit a subscribe button down below. I hope that I will be able to post more. I always hope, but never succeed. But we will try. And I wish you a good day, an amazing weekend, and see you very soon. Goodbye.